Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and today we're getting an update on Goliath Resources. Goliath is traded on the TSX.V under the ticker GOT and on the OTCQB under the ticker GOTRF. I'm joined today with the founder and CEO of Goliath Resources, Roger Rosmus. And Roger, it's great to get you back on the KE Report. Glad to get you on to just recap a kind of a monster of a press release that you put out last month at the end of the month on the 27th of February, where it really finished up the 2024 drill program. And there's a lot of density of information inside this press release, so we'll kind of go through it piece by piece. But I want to kick it off with just kind of a big picture takeaway from last year's drill program. You put 243 holes so far into this Surebet Discovery, and there's multiple stacked veins here. I think in this program, you ended up hitting all of the main veins that people are familiar with, things like the Surebet, Bonanza, Golden Gate, Whopper, Goldzilla. There's a lot in there, but you came up with four new gold zones too. So the team hit on a lot of these holes. I think almost all the holes had either visible gold or something going on in them. Talk to us about the Surebet discovery and the main takeaways you have after last year's drill program.
Yeah, for sure. Shad, great to be back on. And yeah, no, we had that news out here in the last month, and obviously very meaty. It's very detailed. But to sum it up, I would say that based on response from our key cornerstone shareholders and others, is basically we're all in line with what they were expecting from the Surebet. I mean, how do you do better than 100% hit rate when you've got 92% of your holes from last year hitting visible gold and or coarse grain visible gold? So, and again, 243 holes with over 300 pierce points into the system. So essentially coming away, we're, continuing to update the model because, we got all the data late last month and wanted to get that prepared for PDAC, the Metals Investors Forum. But yeah, no, the key takeaway here is the system continues to show its continuity, predictability, and clearly there's an extremely, robust engine that brought all this mineralization to into the system here. But on a go forward, we're just going to keep on drilling away here. Again, we still don't know how big it is, and that's a great question not to have the answer for.
Well, and I'd like to get into these four new zones because the eight original layers we had seen in the prior 2 years drill programs, but you got into four. I guess they don't have names yet, so taking it up to a stacked layer of 12 layers now. So talk to us about how this starts looking at depth as you keep going lower and lower, you keep hitting more layers.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, it's an exceptional discovery. It surprises us every year. So now we have this many more layers over 1.2 kilometers. That's essentially like two CN towers stacked on top of one another. It is deeper in the system, and but it still remains, above the valley floor, about 200 meters. So we really haven't even gone to like any kind of serious depth with that. Other than that one hole we went down below the valley floor, about 480 meters, where we did hit four brand new lenses with lots of sulfide. So clearly, we've got to do some homework there this year to go and see what the heck is going on. So the area is getting bigger. It's just pretty fantastic, and with 100% hit rate, I don't know you can do any better than that. And we'll continue to look on expanding these known horizons, and as well try and do maybe some infill because we do have a number of holes that have been previously drilled between 2021 to 2024 that are kind of sort of 300, 350, 400 meters away. We can't really tag into these veins. We just don't have the spacing down. We just can't attach it to one of the loads here. So I expect that as the program evolves, we'll be able to connect some of these high grade mineralized intercepts that we have received between 2021 and 2024.
Well, and just to that point, you also, as part of this program, relogged some of those old holes from 2021 through 2023. Anything come out of those as far as the relogging efforts or anything that you learned that you'd like to share?
Definitely. I would say the key takeaway in the relogging program was the fact that we have this sort of reduced intrusive style of mineralization in the dikes, which apparently were supposed to be non-gold bearing rocks based on the British Columbia Geological Survey. And so, we found visible gold, moly, bismuth, and various good trace elements that would, indicate a reduced intrusive style of mineralization that, hit. And one of them, I guess, is over 12 grams per ton gold equivalent, 10 meters. And based on that particular hole there, it looks to be that we hit this area dead on, like perpendicular to this particular vein. So that 10 meters is pretty much true width. And so we ended up relogging all these reduced, intrusive, or granodiorite looking core that we have. And, we had 13 holes that we did last year. Six of them had visible gold, and they all came back, running, decent grades for a reduced intrusive style of a system. And based on that success, we've identified a number of other holes that is currently still in the core box that need to be tested as well early on in 2025. So, when we do mobilize, that'll be the first item on the list to do is, pull those core boxes and, relog and send in for assay.
Well, and Roger, for people listening in that are maybe not geologists, but there's some significance here in that there seems to be two different mineralized events. There's all these stacked lenses that you're drilling down into that people were used to. But with this reduced intrusion style of mineralization, having those different pathfinder elements like the bismuth, like the moly, it's almost similar to something like you would see at Snowline that people may be familiar with. So maybe just talk to us about why it's significant to have two different mineralized systems, not just the stacked lenses, but you got an image that we've put on prior discussions we've had where it almost looks like a big hydra or monster at depth coming up with tentacles, and those are this other mineralized system, and these dikes that you're talking about kind of interacting with the system that was already there.
Yeah, no, it's like to simplify it, picture the Pogo mine, which is up in Alaska, which is a stack type of a system similar to the Surebet Discovery, sitting on a snowline gold, reduced intrusive. So, I think the Pogo, again, I'm not suggesting any ounces and so on, but Pogo is 10 million ounces with, I think, over 4 million produced to date, high grade. And I think the Snowline is sitting on around 7 million or 8 million ounces there as well, which, again, is pretty substantial. So, the idea here is we could have the best of both worlds here and essentially find the feeder that brought mineralization to the lodes that we're seeing that are, gently dipping to the south-southwest. And because these dikes are essentially near vertical.
Well, and you mentioned that you've still, on a lot of the holes, not even gotten all the way down to the valley floor. Will there be any initiatives in 2025's program to put some drill pads closer to the valley floor and kind of start from that orientation and go even deeper? Or how are you looking at going to some of the holes to depth in this coming program?
Yeah, certainly. We'll set up a number of pads near the valley floor, and really give it a go with some fairly deep holes to again, if we can find that the mother lode that provided all this mineralization that we're seeing up above the valley floor, I'm sure to be quite substantial based on just the area alone. 1.8 square kilometers of area, and then you've got that 1.2 kilometers of the vertically stacked vein. So my logic would suggest, I'm not a geologist, but just thinking out loud, the heat engine must be massive.
Well, and can you tell us a little bit more about some of the key targets you'll be going after or some of the initiatives from 2025? Because you've already done some raising where you'll be able to start the year's program with the drills turning. But I also have heard you mention that you may do some infill drilling or tighten up the spacing on some of the drilling. You were kind of alluding to that earlier, that maybe some of these areas you can connect that are kind of dispersed at present.
Yeah, no, we've got these outlier holes that they're not connected to any of the loads on the current model, and we just need to have the appropriate spacing to be able to connect those to one of the loads, or maybe it's a new load, because just based on one hole outlying there, we can't just attach it just automatically to some of the other loads to we're seeing in the current model. And we're not just going to stretch it out. Like the model has essentially based on known gold areas within reasonable distances between the hole pierce points.
And is the goal with tightening up some of those areas to eventually include it in a resource? Is that something that you think after 2025's drilling you may be more amenable to, or do you think it still takes 2 seasons or 3 seasons to come out with the resource?
I think just from the spacing point of view, if we did 100-meter spacings, infill would give, in my mind, enough confidence, about the continuity for, let's say, a third party looking outside in, because we do see it visually on both sides of the mountain. We do see the Bonanza north and south side. We do see the Surebet north side and south side as well. We do see the dikes on the north side and south side as well. And I think the dikes are going to play a pretty interesting part of the story as things evolve here. So, will it be enough to put a resource together? Possibly. Are we looking to do something immediately? Not really, because I think, until we've put a fence around this, why would we put a resource out where if, the system remains open at depth and laterally? So I just don't think it would make sense to, I guess, put it into a box and say, okay, here's X amount of ounces versus, let's keep on drilling and just test the maximum parameters of the size of the overall system.
Yeah, makes sense. In initial plan for 2025, do you have an idea of how many meters you may be targeting or how many holes just to kick things off this year?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think we always seem to upsize our drill program. So, I would contemplate something of similar size that we did last year. So in total was 38,000 meters, but at the Surebet was around 36,000 meters. So, kind of around that ballpark is where our head is at. But again, we're still updating the model because there's a lot of data to go through, and yeah, we'll just kind of see how it goes here. If we continue to have lots of VG, lots of coarse grain VG, a lot of good visuals, then we can always accelerate the program.
Well, and obviously the focus of the company and the focus of most of the drilling and the results was at the Surebet Discovery and now those 12 different stacked veins, but also this reduced intrusion mineralization. But you did squeeze in some holes at two of the regional targets, Treasure Island up in the Cambria ice fields and also Jackpot about a kilometer and a half away. You did hit some smoke there. There was a couple results in each target, but it didn't look like it had the same kind of depth to the mineralization that you were seeing at the channel samples. Any thoughts on Jackpot or Treasure Island?
Yeah, Treasure Island, I was disappointed with what came back. I was shocked, actually. I'm going, hey, did they run the right proper assays? But no, joking aside, I guess these VMSs, they're tricky animals, and visually, you can't be kind of spitballing or eyeballing, hey, this looks like that, so it could be that. I mean, it could have, but the fact that we did get gold and silver out of 6 of those holes at Treasure Island, clearly there's smoke there. We're not going to give up. We think we're really high up in the system there, so thinking that this could be a peak of the mountain. We have no idea how deep the glacier is, the snow around, so we will be engaging an airborne, probably June, July, that'll be flown. This technology we can see, I guess, about a kilometer and a half below the surface. This type of style of rock is lots of sulfide, so we can see again down at like 1.5 kilometers. So if there's any big blobs down there that look extremely interesting, that could be possibly a drill target for 2026. But there's no plans to drill it in 2025. We just need to go back, do some more homework there, do some more science, and figure out whether it makes sense to go back and drill. But I'm hopeful that there is some big juicy targets for us and for 2026. And as far as Jackpot goes, again, we got some really good numbers out of there from some grabs and some channel cuts, like multi ounce type material. As you and I were talking off mic, that big chunk of gold, that leaf that was, found in a vein at surface, what came back, there were skinny veins there. The grades were, okay, so, but, maybe we drilled it the wrong way, or we're not sure. Again, that we have to go back and just figure out what the heck went on there. But, that's something, we're not going to give up on. And, but, again, clearly the key focus is our flagship Surebet Discovery in that area where we have those 1.2 kilometers of these vertically stacked veins, or over 1.2 kilometers vertically. And then obviously Bonanza and now the dikes are coming in, which gives it a a very interesting twist. It keeps on surprising us, which is good surprises.
Yeah, Roger. I think overall, for the balance of the program, you learned a lot last year. You had some great holes. You had some of the hole we talked about, 260 is one of the best holes I saw anybody drill all season or maybe in years. And you just had a high hit rate to the point where, like you say, almost 100% hit rate from the team in the Surebet Discovery. You found new zones. You know it's open at depth. You know there's some areas that you can connect. And this kind of a program has also brought the eyeballs in from some other key investors. You brought in, just as a recap for people listening, Larry Childress. Rob McEwen came back in and did a little bit extra. Crescat topped up as well. And then Rob's company, McEwen Mining, also came in as a key strategic shareholder. I'd love you to just also unpack that, just the strength of the strategic investors that came into Goliath in 2024.
Yeah, clearly the endorsement from all these folks, as well as a group out of Singapore, Global Commodity Group, is obviously a huge feather in our cap here. And the people ask about the McEwen transaction is, I see that stock. I think targets are I've seen sort of 17 to 25 bucks as the high. Once they IPO that, I think that that paper that we have could be double, which could provide additional cash to the company on a non-dilutive basis. So, and again, just strengthening the relationship with Rob, and obviously his company is fantastic for us, and will be a very good component for us. If there's any sort of advisory type of things that we need, and again, it bodes very, very well for the company.
One, Roger, just as a clarifier, that $10 million strategic investment from McEwen Mining into Goliath, could you just unpack that a little bit further?
Yeah, again, we value, or I value, McEwen Mining paper more than their cash, actually, because I do see a potential double to what we paid for it, and we've got a 4-month hold plus a day. Are we in the business of holding other people's stock? No. Can we sell it? Yes. So, I mean, that would be our ultimate goal. We have to clearly, I think the value be created with the McEwen Mining paper. Once they do IPO their Argentinian copper play, which I think is imminent here. So I think the timing will be perfect for us.
Okay, I think it was just a little bit different of a deal, so a lot of people had questions about that. But the key is that you brought in some big guns this year, Roger, and I think the program really caught a lot of investors by surprise. The continued hit rate, the number of holes that went into it, the number of veins that you found. So we'll keep following along as you get things geared up for 2025. Do you have a rough timeline as far as I know it's later in the season, but when would the preparation and the drills start getting set up to go for the 2025 drill season?
Yeah, right now, based on this whole dike story evolving with core sitting in the boxes, we could get to camp or to the town of Kitsault there to our campsite, probably May. So we're going in earlier because again, there's lots to do. Again, following up on as an example, even the jackpot, just to see it is further down near the valley floor, so there won't be much coverage there. So that'd be a good time for the guys to go and figure out, maybe what the heck is going on there and kind of reassess for future drilling at some point.
Well, May's not that far away. In mining terms, that's just a couple months away. It's not long at all, Roger. So definitely a lot of news on tap for the year to come. Exciting to see that all of the data that you're going to be compiling, how that will filter into this year's program. I'm sure we'll get you back on and discuss the program to come when you get a little closer to it. And I appreciate you breaking down really the whole summary of last year's drill program now that all the data is in. So for those that are listening in, if you want to follow along with that news or dive into some of that news we just discussed, definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the Goliath website, straight to their news section, so you can follow along with the news or sign up for updates. Roger, keep us posted as more news breaks. We'll get you back on. And as always, looking forward to our next conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Shad, and look forward to sharing any additional updates with you. And we can't get out there soon enough. I'm just really excited to what 2025 is going to surprise us with.